This past Sunday, I was with my parents and my boyfriend in a place called the Fairfield, Maine Antique Mall. They have a number of different vendors, including ones that have vinyl. They have a number of little ones and one massive one. And because the Pride Parade I had intended to go to with them got rained out, I don't know, I just went absolutely hog wild with buying pre-owned vinyl, although in one case I did not. My boyfriend did for me, and it's this album. Here's Little Richard. Now, this is a first pressing, and it's not in very good condition. He used some of his vinyl cleaning solution on it, and it sounds pretty good, but I have it on CD already in a Little Richard album collection that I picked up. And this was more aesthetic, you know, for me. Just the idea of having it on vinyl. I might actually frame this. I mean, he's Little Richard. He's the originator, you know. One of the kings of rock and roll to me. Got a little testimonial on the back from 1956. And all of these albums are in order of the correct year, by the way. Arthur Conley, Shake, Rattle, and Roll. He was actually gay, and I didn't know it until a few years ago. But he made sweet soul music, one of my all-time favorite Southern soul songs, rather. And this is from 1967 on Atco Records. I want to give a shout-out to my friend Ben Minot over at Oddity Archive for doing a blog on what he called conservative folk music. Now, this would not normally be my personal forte, but this is Sonny Bono's only album / EP. Just the oddity of it alone. I don't see this album around anywhere. I just decided to get this. I heard this album, despite its conservativeness, is a trip. And, you know, I just wanted to hear it, especially that atonal harmonica part that Ben talked about. It's a Beautiful Day. This is from 1969. This is not an original pressing. I opened up the label and it's a little later, but this is a wonderfully orchestrated psychedelic album. My father has it on CD, and I always just love the idea of having this cover on vinyl. There's the back of that album, and it is a gatefold. This shows a kind of a shadow image of the band. Hugh Masekela, Reconstruction. My father had a lot of Hugh Masekela records. My friend Henrique, shout out to him. And I talk a lot about his music on Shiza. I think I've showed you that label before. This album's from 1970. Dusty Springfield, Brand New Me. Dusty Springfield with Gamble and Huff and the Philly Soul Gang, 1970. This album is one that I have been looking for on CD and vinyl pretty much since I started buying vinyl in the 90s, and I'm just so happy to have found this record in really good shape. There's Dusty. Looking forward to that one. Jeff Beck Group, Rough and Ready. I heard a lot of these songs on YouTube from this 1971 album, but, you know, I love this group. The rock, soul, funk thing. There's the back of that album. Dreams. This 1972 album is something of a supergroup. It contains the Brecker brothers, Randy and the late Michael Brecker, and Billy Cobham. I'm in the process of listening to this as I make this video. It's a really cool album. Great poppy jazz fusion. Produced by Steve Cropper, Booker T and the MGs. The Fifth Dimension, individually and collectively. I've always loved the Fifth Dimension sound, and this album is probably among the last from this early lineup of the band that recorded in the late 60s and early 70s. It's got one of those flipping album covers. It's kind of a shadow there in the water. I don't know if you can see that. It's just a shadow, mirror image, whatever. 1972. Al Green, Call Me. What can you say about Al Green and the Willie Mitchell sound? This is probably an English pressing because it has London on the bottom. Not so sure about that, but I'm guessing it's an English pressing. I mean, here I am, Come and Take Me, Call Me. This is just Al Green at his prime. One of the few Al Green albums I don't have. It just sounds great on vinyl. I really think it's one of those albums that truly sounds great on vinyl because of the nature of it. If you hear any noise in the background, it's me trying to organize these records after I do them. Love Unlimited Orchestra, Rhapsody in White, arranged and conducted by Barry White, featuring Love's Theme. Can't tell you how many times I've neglected purchasing this album on vinyl and dollar bins, on cheap CDs, but here it is. Happy to not be without this one. Sonny and Cher. One thing I like to do personally is to explore artists as they've marinated in their artistic juices and matured. And this is actually, if I understand it, Sonny and Cher's last album. They don't look very happy on the cover. I think it was around the time they were getting ready to divorce. But I'm wondering how this 1973 album is going to sound. Greg Allman, R.I.P. Greg, Playing Up a Storm, 1977. Heard a lot of great stuff from this album. Really happy to find it on vinyl. I think it's kind of semi-out of print on CD right now. Capricorn Records. Maybe I should take the label out on this one. I don't have anything else on the Capricorn label. There's Capricorn. It isn't much of a label, but I've never shown that label before. Cat Stevens, Back to Earth. Cat Stevens' previous album to this, Is It So, actually featured him experimenting with electronic jazz funk fusion a little bit. This album kind of takes him back to his classic sound a bit. This was the last album he did as Cat Stevens, and probably the last album he'll ever do as Cat Stevens, from 1978 on A&M. Bobby Bland. I love this guy's music to death. 1979. I Feel Good, I Feel Fine. This is him during the disco era. Looking forward to seeing how this legendary blues man sounded during that time. Maybe a little blues disco? We'll have to find out. Prism, my boyfriend, actually suggested that I buy this. He has this. It was one of their big hits on it. And this is from 1981. The Reddings. Two of these people you see right here. I don't know which two exactly, but I would take it he's probably one of them just from a look in the eye, are the children of the late and great soul icon Otis Redding. And this is their 1981 album, Class. I believe it's their second album. Kids from Fame. The Kids from Fame. From the TV series of Fame. This is one of a series of albums they made in the early 80s. Again, my boyfriend recommended this to me based on him having it in his collection. I love Fame. Joe Cocker, Sheffield Steel. I just watched a Netflix documentary on Joe Cocker. For some reason, this period kind of interests me. Early 80s. You know, him trying to make a comeback. The Temptations reunion. There's a whole lot of Temptations here. Standing on the tops on this album, Rick James produced this. I have this on tape. Another favorite song on this album of mine is The Closer. Money's Hard to Get. Great synth boogie funk album. I'll always respect the Temptations for always keeping up with the times, but being consistent in who they were, even in troubled times. The Reddings, Steamin' Hot, 1982. And there's the back of that album. The next Reddings album they had, Back to Basics. The font there looks a little bit like Wings' Venus and Mars album, doesn't it? Dave Valentine, the flutist. The album is called Kalahari. It's a digital master, probably meant to be on CD. This album is from 1984, produced by Dave Grusin. Dave Valentine is a kind of an early smooth jazz flutist. Another album that my boyfriend actually bought for himself. Theoretically, it isn't a double because he didn't know he actually had it until after he brought it home. Passion Puppets, Beyond the Pale, 1984 as well. There's the back of that album. Adamant, Viva la Rock, one of his solo albums, also from 1984. This is Adam and his group at the time. I don't know if it's the Ants. Marilyn Martin. This album starts out with her big hit, Night Moves. I think somebody drew a mustache on her face. 2 12-inchers now. The Bar-Kays, Struck by You, 1989, has some excellent remixes of the Bar-Kays kind of getting into the New Jack Swing. And Layla Hathaway's first single from 1990, Heaven Knows. I thought this was an album at first, but it's actually a 12-inch single on vinyl. So, there's my vinyl pickup for this past Sunday at the Fairfield Antique Mall. Now, before I go, I just wanted to say one thing about my last video. When I made my last video about the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band 50th anniversary, I made a couple of errors in what I said, and when I shared it with a Facebook vinyl group, I had a number of people collectively gang up on me and call me names, not accept any explanation for the simple mistakes I made, and generally try to make me feel bad. And to a degree, I did. But I wanted to say that from this point on, remembering what happened to another friend of mine named Justin Hyman, I am going to start a policy of red carding people on my videos. Anybody on Facebook or YouTube who disagree with me, and you're welcome to disagree with me on an opinion or counter it with knowledge I may not have, but you are not welcomed to name call, to make lewd remarks, or anything of that kind. Next time any of you do, I will red card you. My site is a place for peace and love and alternating opinions, but not cruelty, not insults, and profanity. I just wanted to make that abundantly clear. And now that we've got that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed this little batch of records, 28 of them actually. Enjoy your music, and talk to all you good people next time.